Right, welcome back. Are we recording? We are indeed. Okay, what we're going to do now is go ahead and put some detail on this character inside of Modbox. If you don't know Modbox, you should probably watch some tutorials on basics of Modbox. It's actually quite simple and straightforward to use once you get the hang of it. This is actually a very useful tool to use. What I'm going to use is go to Sculpt, and I'm gonna go ahead and add a new layer. And I'm gonna go up. I'm gonna press Shift D, and if you press W, you can see the wireframe. I can press Shift D again, go to level 3-ish, maybe one more, level 4. Okay. And if I was to go and look at turtles, you really want to have a graphic tablet with this. Actually, they come up with these sort of shells on top of their body. So what we're going to do, we're going to try to see if we can fake some of that in here, and then because we don't want to take that detail inside of the game, we'll just bake out the normal maps from it and use that. So I'm going to go ahead and get the wax tool, and I'm going to decrease my brush size, because my brush size right now is a little bit too big, and let's see what this will give to us. Now remember that the tablet is pressure sensitive, so let's go ahead and max that a little bit. Again, I'm looking for very actually I might have to increase my I'm looking for very cartoonish look. I'm not looking for anything realistic. If you mess up anywhere, you can hold Shift, and that will automatically switch to your smooth tool, and you can smooth that. Also, what I had previously done here, I had done set mirror on, which is why whatever I do one side applies to the other side as well, and you can do that by going to mirror and choosing the correct axes of what you need to achieve. What we can also do is go ahead and you can try different brushes, see what gives you what. You can use a foamy brush if you wanted to. I wouldn't really recommend it for this case though. The wax tool tends to do a fairly decent job as it is. Let me just put that there, smooth it out a little bit. Okay, wax there, a little bit here, and a little bit here, a little bit. You know what? I think I should actually given this rather a uniform, so I could have one here. So let's bring one right here. Okay, let's have another big one here. Probably too big. And maybe Shift if I can. Another one here, and maybe one here, and one here. I don't want to complicate it too much, so I just have very few ones. If you want to, then you can go ahead and grab, for example, the if you can find it, the flatten tool. What that will do is it'll flatten out the areas that you've given the bump to, so you can always go in a little bit more. Flatten these areas out a little bit. Okay. If you wanted to get a little bit serious, you could get, for example, get the knife tool, which is here. You actually want to do that in a more of a higher level actually. So let's go add a new level, a new layer, and go up to level 6 maybe. Be careful, don't go too high because you could crash your computer. Right now he's struggling to go to level 6, and he has finally managed to go. And what the knife tool does is that it creates a cut. In case, I'm not sure if it'll work too well here though. Let's go ahead. So look. I'm quite new to Modbox myself, so I'm gonna, this is just a test to see whether or not it is going to look okay once we do one. If it looks okay, I might pause the video and go and repeat this for the other ones as well. So let's have a look how that looks. Holding shift now, just going over it to smooth it out a little tiny bit. And oops. Hold shift. Smoothing this area down a little tiny bit. If we wanted to, we'll get the flatten the areas again if we think they're too puffy. See if I like that or not. It's fine, but it's not. It would take a very long time for me to go and do that. If you want to do it, you can do it. If you don't want to, you can just don't. So for that reason, actually, I'm gonna go ahead and delete that layer. So we go back. Now I need to press the page down in order to go back to the same level as I was before until this becomes active. I think one more. There we go, page 4, that becomes activated, etc. That's really good. But what I will, however, do is go ahead and create a new layer, Shift D, one more, go on level 5. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to stencil, and I could go and get any stencil that I want. Actually, let's go to stamp, and let's go and grab, you can download some if you're not happy with them, so let's go see how does that one look. Let's go back to stencil, turn that off, go back to stamp, grab this, and let's show you what this does. And you want to make sure that you get your sculpt tool, not your flatten or anything else, and that's fine. What this does, this starts applying that roughness of the stamp, of the stamp that you've chosen onto the character. And it depends on whether or not you're happy with what there is there, whether you want it, whether you don't want it. It's completely up to yourself. You can choose different ones and go with whatever you like. Turtles do tend to have rather a rough skin, so because of that, I'm not shy. Again, it is pressure sensitive. If you press too hard, that could happen, so make sure you avoid doing that. Just gonna go ahead and paint with this stamp a little bit. Maybe even the eyes a little bit. That's for the head. Okay. Very good. But also apply that with a smaller brush if you want to the back as well. Actually, make it a little bigger. It's a very wonderful tool. No one's going to see this area, but I'm just going to create a bunch of detail here as well. really not bothered about how this is going to look like. This is just for demonstration purposes. I'm doing this in about, I don't know, maybe half an hour or so. You guys have so much more time to spend on this, and you're expected to do so. Don't want to miss out the neck. Excellent, very good. Even if you wanted to, for example, because he's a mean guy, what we could always do is maybe add a new layer in case if I don't like it, I can always hide it. Go ahead and get the knife, and I could go ahead and turn off my mirror mode and draw a deep, so that's too deep, scar in his face that runs down to his other lip, basically. Maybe a couple of scars there. I think I probably when I did this a little too much, so in that case I can just bring down the strength a little tiny bit so that it's not as obvious. So we'll have a sort of tough turtle there. Then what we can do is use stencils. So I'm gonna create another layer and go into stencils. You can choose whichever one you want. You can download new ones. For example, I could go ahead and grab, let's say, that one. Here are the instructions on the left hand side. You can hold the S key in order to do this. Again, make sure you go to sculpt and not knife or anything, and then you can start again. I think it's just too strong. Painting detail on top of your model. Oops, I'm actually gonna Control Z that a couple of times, and the reason I'm doing this is Control Y, creating a layer again, because my mirror was off. So what I'm doing on one side doesn't actually apply to the other side as well. So I want to make sure that I do that. It's probably too much. On his face, I'll actually use another one. So look what else is there. Let's see how that looks. Not bad, actually. Okay, when you get these artifacts happening, you're going to hold Shift. Either undo that if you can. In this case, I can't undo it. I don't want to put that on its eye, do I? Maybe I do. Just a little bit. Okay. Very good. Again, don't want to spend too much time on this because I'm only doing this for demonstration purposes. Okay, excellent. Turn it off. Okay, so that's that. So what we want to do now is go ahead and paint on this character. And the way we're going to do that is go to the paint layer, create a new layer, and this is going to be our diffuse color. So when I say diffuse, TIFF is fine, 2048 is fine, put that there. And then I'm going to go to the paint tool menu, get the brush, and let's go get a dark green. And I'm actually going to name this base. Actually, base color. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and get a really big brush with a lot of strength and paint green everywhere. Make absolutely everything green. Don't worry about the eyes, etc. We'll fix this in Photoshop later on. Not everything has to be done through. You could do it here as well, actually, if you wanted to, but yeah, it's up to you. Okay, so the base color is green. Now what I'm going to do is go ahead and get a even darker green on a new layer again. So what I want to do around these edges, or these parts of the shell that we brought up, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make them slightly darker. Notice how I'm not putting black or anything. It's a sort of low opacity, darker shade of the color of the base color, which is dark green, but I'm using even darker green here. This is to sort of get these to stand out and distinguish between what's there and what's flat and what is raised higher. Now what I'm going to do is go ahead and get a, actually I might do that on a new layer, get a very, very light green and produce highlights around the edges of whatever sticks out, really. What I can do is go back to my, actually I'll call this dark green, and I'll call this bright green. And I'll go back to my dark green layer and choose again a very dark color, or I could just choose the color that sits over there, or a little bit darker. And again, go around the areas that I think should be slightly darker, areas that actually probably want to undo this. Actually, I don't want to do the eye because I can't do one eye and not the other one, so I'll leave that as it is, but I'll go and do it around the mouth, behind the teeth a little bit. Okay. What's also good is to just have a very randomized color in there, so that the base color isn't just solid green. There is a variation of different colors running in there. There's highlights and different. Actually, what I have to do is go in for the scars. I get a really low dark green color, and in fact, I'll probably turn off the mirror, and I'll go across and I'll paint dark where he has his scar. Okay, and I can come back here. What I could do is go back to my bright green and then again get my bright green and paint very low highlights outside on the areas that stand out. Oops. What I'll do is just get a big brush with low side and just go ahead and paint bright green very briefly but randomly across the body of the turtle. I'll actually turn my X mirror on as well. Are we still recording? Yes, we are. And it's completely up to you how you want to do this. You could go ahead and, for example, I don't know, get a new layer and call this, I don't know, yellow or something. I don't know, whatever color you're going to have, and make the shoes a different color if you wanted the shoes to be different, or if you wanted to have a bit of a different variety here and there. Just be creative, stick with whatever you have in mind and go with it. Don't worry about, if it's your first attempt, don't worry too much about how it looks. Just try to have fun with the overall view of the application. Enjoy it, implement your ideas, etc., and take it from there. Okay, so I'll have a bit of a highlight there. Looks fine. Okay, Now, another thing you can do is click on the plus sign, and instead of having a diffuse color, you could have a specular color. So if I was to hit spec, and in fact, yeah, go with spec. Now with spec, you just want to paint black and white really. Let's go get white, and what white does is whichever area becomes white, it becomes reflective. If you look at this, well, not reflective in terms of reflecting the environment, it will reflect light. So if you look at this, it's really matte, but if I was to start painting white on top of this, I think I'm probably okay. So if I was to paint white on top of it, I'm not really painting white on top of the model. You can see that that white changes as I rotate the screen. That's because it's becoming rather glossy and reflective. Especially what you want to do that is for around the edges of the areas that stand out and pop up. Those become the most reflective areas, and maybe a little tiny bit in the middle as well, if you want to have that. Okay, so that when the object moves around, at least you can have that variation of light hitting different areas of your model. For example, I could make the teeth really reflective, so it reflects the light quite a bit. Okay, might want to do that with the parts of the eye. Oops, don't want to go up there. Parts of the eye as well would be nice to have. Okay, and then maybe some random areas here and there as well, just to highlight some light. For example, this area comes up a little bit, have some light here, and maybe around the shoe as well. Okay, excellent. While we're here, let's just go get a new diffuse and just get the white color and see if we can just, because I don't want to go in Photoshop. If you wanted to, you can always go in Photoshop and change those colors as well. I really don't want to spend time in Photoshop with this. I just want to see if I can very briefly go ahead and paint this white. I actually like the idea of it having some turn that off, having some green left over on it. So I might leave a couple of small tiny spots here and there. A little bit as well. And just for the fun of it, I might go ahead and get a dark brown and paint here a little bit. And then get black Strength of 100. And there we go. Can't even tell where he's looking at. Back to my spec, get white, do the little bit more around the what I'm doing, I hold B and B to change the brush size, and M to change the strength of the brush, or you could just use the size and the strength here and as well. So just have this on. Oops. Yeah, let's make this a little bit bigger, a little bit glossy. I might go back to my base color and just have some darker areas for the shoe, considering that it's constantly on the floor. Maybe even have a bit of black going around the t-shirt as well. Excellent. There you go. There is our now army looking turtle. Excellent. So what we want to do now is go ahead and extract these so we can use them. So the very first thing we want to do is extract the normal maps. I want to go to UVs and maps, go to extract, new operation, and I'm going to call this normal. I'm going to choose normal map, and we're taking what's on level 5, which is our highest level, and take level 5 and put it on the level 0. I want to extract it as a 2048, so it's a bigger texture file, and I'm going to take this and say save it in character tutorial, which is here, and name this normal. And I would actually appreciate a toggle file. Save. And what I'm going to do, what I'm going to do is say extract composability with Three-S Max, because they just behave a little bit differently. And TGA. Okay, let's go with the TIFF file. Save. Character normal. Nope. Let's close this again. Let's look at the sculpt. Okay, that's fine. Extract normal. Normal. Okay, so character should normal. Okay, that's fine. And we're going to extract, and down at the bottom left hand side it'll give you a percentage saying how long it's going to take, and what percentage is that. So we're going to see, just wait for that to get to 100%, and it says extraction finished successfully. I'm going to press OK, and I'm going to wait for that to finish this thing again. And now inside of, let's go to 3ds Max, I could go ahead and grab a material, which is very simple. Go to maps, go to bump, put a normal bump on there, and from there I could go ahead and choose bitmap and go and find character tutorial, which is there, and this normal TIFF that we just made. I could open that, and I don't have proper lighting here, but I should be able to see something here. It's very little. In fact, what I'll probably do is go to Unreal Engine, because that's where it's going to end up at the end, and I'm gonna go ahead and create a new folder here. Call this tutorial character, and actually I want like the content. I'll do a new folder. Tut character, and inside of the tutorial character I want to say import, and I have the characters FBX that I could bring in. Press import to that, and I could click on import and go ahead and get the TIFF file, and it's not giving the TIFF file, so I'm going to open the TIFF file in Photoshop. So Control O to open that up, and go back. Character tutorial is here. Go ahead and get that TIFF file, and these are all the detail that we put on the character. I'm going to go to File, Save As, and I'll save it normal, but save it as a TGA file. Okie doke. Back to Unreal, import normal TGA. What I'll also do is create a new material, call this CharMat, character material. Open that up, put it here, drag the normal maps and put it in there, and let's have a look at this. We can just take the normals and connect that to normal right here, and once we've done that, we can then say save to the material, and then we can go back to our static mesh, which is this one, and we say CharMat. Put that on, and there you go. There is our bomb map. So all of that detail that you can see there, completely flat, coming directly from our Modbox file. That is amazing, fantastic. But that's just for the normal map. So let's go to Modbox again. In our paint layer, let's click on one, right click on one, and say merge visible. Merge all of them. Then we're going to right click and say export channel to PSD, and I'm going to export it into PSD and character tutorial. I'm going to call this diff. Diffuse is fine. And inside of Photoshop, I can go and say, actually another thing that I need to do in Modbox is to go and say extract new operation, and I'm going to call this AO for ambient occlusion, and we are going to choose ambient occlusion again. Let's go with 2048, and let's go with image resolution. Advanced is fine. Go with 1024 there. Hang on. Let's go with AO. Yep. This is fine. Give it a file here. We'll call this AO, and let's just save as a PNG. Is fine. And let's say image properties and shadow map resolution again higher, and extract that as well. Again, we have to wait for it to go to 100%. 10%, 12, 14. And this should give us a black and white image, which will illustrate all the darkness that the model has, not in terms of its texture, but in terms of its 3D and physical geometry. So let's just wait for that. I'll actually pause the video and we'll come back to this once it's done. Okay. So that took about a minute or so. It said map extraction finished successfully. Press OK. Now when I go to my Photoshop, I can go to File, Open, and I can go and find the diffuse PSD that we exported initially. It also gives you the UV layout of your model as well, which is pretty nice. That's the eye we drew. And what we're going to do here is go ahead and bring in open up the ambient occlusion as well. I named it AO. We're going to bring that in, and I'm going to just copy this and put it over here. And I'm going to set this blend mode to either multiply. You can just play around with them. You can have darken, for example. You can go with multiply. I prefer multiply personally. And you can see this is with the ambient occlusion on, and that's with the ambient occlusion off, so you can see the difference that it actually brings in through ambient occlusion. So I'm going to leave that on. I have some odd dark spaces here and there, but we'll see what happens. And I'm going to go to File and save this as a TGA, and I'm going to call this diffuse. That's fine. And what we're going to do is save the ambient occlusion as a TGA as well. Actually, it's already PNG, it'll work fine with Unreal, so it doesn't matter. So now what I'm going to do is go back to my 3ds Max file, and I'm going to finish off. I'm going to make a duplicate of these objects that need to be duplicated, basically. I'm just going to press that can go to element, and these ones can go to object, and they can be then mirrored. This is a copy, and I'll put those roughly around here, let's say. Excellent. And same thing with the eye, but as for the eye, I'll probably just shift and drag it here to element, and then just rotate it. Oops, it's getting rotated out of place. So let's shift and drag this to object, rotate it a little bit, actually this, put the pivot to the center, rotate that a tiny bit, put that back over here, and we should be able to scale this just to give it a bit of a variety of different eye sizes, and then we'll take that from there. So let's go ahead and attach all of these together. Attach that to that as well. Excellent. Now I'm going to export this file, export, and override my FBX file. So I'm going to replace. I'm going to say yes. Okay. Back into Unreal, and I should be able to go here, right click on this, and say re-import, or where is it? Re-import. There we go. And it should bring it in. This time with the forward legs, etc. Going back to its material, I can go ahead and import the other parts as well. So the diffuse and the ambient occlusion, I can open those. Importing ambient occlusion, importing diffuse, and I can drag and drop both of them into here. That goes there, that goes here. The diffuse goes into base color, ambient occlusion goes into ambient occlusion, normal maps. Save that. Go and have a look at our model here. And this is the final result of our character being inside of Unreal Engine. Mean looking character. Next stage is to rig, animate, and bring those in as well. Just want to show you how this looks inside the engine. Let's take the character, put it here, and just put him down. Let's put him down, and let's maybe make him twice as big so we can have a look at him better. I'm not sure if we'll be able to look at this very well mainly because or due to the fact that I have a lot of things running. My computer is not super powerful, but we should be able to have a look at the object that we have, and that's that. There you go. It has collisions and it doesn't look too ugly. It actually looks really bad, but there you go, and that's how you do that. In the next video we will rig and animate this object and bring it in as a skeletal mesh into Unreal Engine. I will see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.